Hey there, podcast listeners. Exciting news. My new audiobook, The Short Book Formula, a financial professional's guide to writing a book in 6 weeks to attract ideal clients, is out now. And the best part, for a limited time, we're offering this audiobook to you for free. Hurry over to www.theshortbookformula.com and claim your copy now. And now, on to our show. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the $1 Million Producer Show. My name is Paul G. McManus, and today I'm thrilled to introduce a special guest, someone I've had the privilege of working closely with for the past year and a half, Michael Budnick. Together, we've embarked on a journey that's seen the successful writing, publishing, and marketing of not one, not two, but 3 books. We'll be delving into Michael's insights about the journey of writing a book, the evolution of his target audience, the significance of audio versions, a special opportunity for financial advisors related to his latest books. It's an honor to have you here, Michael. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Paul. It's great to be here.
Let's dive right into it. Michael, when you first approached me about 18 months ago, you had just finished your first book called The 401k Survival Guide. Since then, you've written 3 more books. You are prolific. Can you discuss the overarching value you found in writing and publishing these books?
Yeah, I sure can. First of all, with the first book that I did, Paul, you really helped me to remold and reshape and redefine the book in a way that made it easier for my audience to absorb and to get the data, to get the information. And it really created a more cohesive process for me, which really made a lot of sense. And the other thing that we did early on, I should step back and say that you really helped me to define my target market. In defining my target market, that's how we put the first book together, which was the 401k Survival Guide for Nurses. That was really awesome. The second book, what really got me excited was I took a step back and I really looked at, okay, I've been doing this work for over 25 plus years, and I've done a lot of personal development, as many people have. What I realized is I wanted to take everything that I'd learned and put it into a book that I could give to other people where they could not just get, look, I guess what I'm saying here is I redefined holistic financial planning, because now it's about relationships, it's about wealth, health, and happiness, which everybody wants. So I took a deep dive and really put together a roadmap type book that essentially helps people have a better quality of life in all areas of their life. And then the most recent book, Prescriptions for Prosperity, I started in the defined contribution marketplace 25 plus years ago, working with healthcare professionals and government folks as well. But in Prescriptions for Prosperity, what got me really super excited was the process that I have now in place in my practice and how we were able to really put together a book that, I'll tell you what, I'm so delighted with the results of this book and the impact it's going to have on people's lives. Yeah,
100%. And I've really enjoyed helping you with the last 3 books. It's been, I think for both of us, it's been an evolution and it's been a journey. I remember back with the first book that I helped you rewrite, we simply, because we were looking to market it on LinkedIn, the original idea was to take the book that you'd already written and essentially do a brief rewrite to focus it in on healthcare professionals.
Yep.
And tell us a little bit, if you would, just in transparency, what was I think it made sense. At the same time, it wasn't as effective as our next 2 books. Just from your perspective, kind of the evolution of getting to know your target market, and you can go anywhere you want with this, but I know during the process of the last 2 books, we really did what I would call a proper writing approach, which includes something I call insights interviews. That's if you have a defined audience that you're trying to connect with, you want to actually speak their language, understand their concerns from their point of view. I know that you did a number of insights interviews with nurses Then on the most recent book, I know you did a number of insights interviews with just people on your own team at Royal Fund Management from, I can't think of the gentleman's name now. That's really the proper way to go about this process, is to really, too often we want to just tell it from our point of view. In that case, it oftentimes becomes a little bit too self-centered or product or service focused, but really flipping the script and seeing it from the audience's point of view really helps create a much more impactful book. So just from anywhere you want to go, tell us about that journey from the first book to the final book.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the first book really, in many ways, was a better reiteration of the book I did before I met you. But what was lacking, I'll tell you what, the number one thing that was lacking was stories. It didn't have personal stories. And I think that for me, that was a huge missing part. I have a great friend of mine, CPA, Norm Lewis, and I'm his client. He's my client. And he even said to me, he goes, Michael, this was the very first book I met before I met you. And he said, it's too technical. You're too technical. You don't have enough personalized stories. You did a great job reshaping that book to the best that you could with the data that you had, because you got it out to me in 2 to 3 weeks so we could go to market, which was incredible when I think back on it. But what really the shift that took place, Paul, was these insights interviews, where I took the time to interview my clients, and I spent probably 15, 20 minutes, doesn't take more than that. And it comes down to about a 5-minute, ends up being a testimonial, which is even more awesome for marketing and repurposing that content. But really what happened was I got into the head, the mind of the nurses, and I found out what really mattered most to them. What was it that they really cared the most about? And I'm thinking, as a nurse, one of my nurse clients, her goal is like peace of mind. I want to be comfortable. I want to be secure. I want to have the retirement of my dreams, but I don't want to have to worry about running out of money. And I got so much value as an advisor to learn about what really matters to my clients. And what that's enabled me to do, Paul, is to take my clients. I was already creating partnerships because I really view my clients as partners with what we're doing, but it took that partnership relationship to the next level. And now moving on to prescriptions for prosperity, as you said, I was able to get into the head of colleagues where really finding out, I was actually reviewing some of my notes from back in March when we were talking to Michael Tarr, and seeing how we really took the time to understand from his perspective what really matters to employers, what was the most important part to them. Then our CEO of our firm, who's an employer, what mattered most to him, especially when it comes to a retirement plan. Like his goal is to attract high quality employees, retain those high quality employees, and keep them and have them be inspired, like almost creating owners. I remember we were talking to him. He's, I want my employees to feel like owners. And when they feel like owners, they want to stay around. So that was huge. The value from those conversations that we had, Paul, that I had were really powerful in molding and shaping the context for the books.
Yeah, I find that, again, just to congratulate you, because a lot of people think they know what their ideal reader thinks, and they might to a certain degree, but there's so much value from taking those additional steps in actually interviewing them. And then to your point, I think there's oftentimes unintended positive consequences. So it deepens the relationship. They become more what I call active advocates. They're more likely to want to partner with you in some way because they're more invested in what you're doing. And so there's so many different benefits that come as a result of that. You mentioned Michael Tarr, and some of these interviews either you recorded and let me listen into, or even live. I was on the Zoom call with you, and I have to credit Michael Tarr because you and I were, before we started writing the book, we wanted to get the positioning right and not only understand what is it that's going to differentiate your book and the message from the rest of the marketplace. And I remember, I think one of the conversations we had was that, all of these healthcare business owners, organizational leaders, they're bombarded from different people with messaging. I think it's to the extent of we can reduce your fees or something that they just tend to tune out. So the question was, how do we really get them excited about hearing the message, right? The first step is to get them to say, yes, I want to read or listen to that book. And so what Michael Tarr helped us determine was that in the structure of the book, the very first thing we wanted to address was their own personal desires, right? As an individual, how do I create a better retirement? And maybe I'll let you pick up from there, but just that unfolding of the book and the structure of it, just from your perspective, tell us what the final product, how it is from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. That's really such a key point that Michael Tarr pointed out to us, Paul, that really helped us to look at how we were going to mold and shape this book. We think about it in human nature. We hear it all the time. People want to know what's in it for them. What am I going to get? What's the value for me? And whether you're an owner of a company or CEO, CFO, finance director, HR director, you have your own personal retirement plan. So you're a participant in the plan, just like every employee is in the plan. So we started with that premise so they could actually get empowered to want to actually engage in this process by themselves, for themselves first, right? And then begin to actually see the benefit that they're receiving over some time. And then from there, naturally, the progression would go, wow, like we tell one story in the book about the president of the healthcare system in Texas. He started in on the plan by himself. He saw fabulous, he was seeing great results, especially compared to his wife's 401k. And so from there, he decided, let's go ahead and offer this to our entire staff at our healthcare system. It really was almost like an organic step-by-step process. And it makes so much sense when you think about it, because it's, wow, they feel good about how it's benefiting them. Then now they're not selling this to their employees. They're actually bringing something that they're excited about because of the results that they're getting. And in turn, they create real opportunities for their employees in the company by virtue of doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And then just to add on to that, the structure of the book, it started with, okay, what's in it for me? Then it expanded into the simple, and we'll get into it, the 401k maneuver. Then it got into a little bit more complex thing that I think is the ultimate goal. But instead of starting with the most complex thing and most difficult thing to sell per se, we started with the easiest, progressed them to the next, and then progressed them to the final destination, if you will. So I think just the flow of it was perfect. So that begs the question, the book ultimately, the idea behind the book is really to position and promote what is called the 401k maneuver primarily. So what the heck is the 401k maneuver? Tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. And Paul, I want to step back too, because just to highlight for the listeners, we talk about target date funds, and we talk about them, though, from an objective standpoint. We're not beating them up because there's $1.7 trillion in target date funds over, depending on what study you look at, anywhere from 50 to 60% of all employers have a target date fund. So they understand. They might call them glide path funds or what have you. They have different names, but we get into the reality of what they know they already have in their plan. They can look at their statement and see, oh, wow, I have these in Fidelity. I have these in Voya. I have these in Vanguard. And so from there, we went on to active management. What is that, right? What is the difference between the target date fund, set it and forget it, and then moving into active management and working with a fiduciary, an investment advisory firm, an RIA? And that's where really, when you ask the question about, so what is the 401k maneuver? The maneuver, first and foremost, I think the important part for people to get is that whether they're plans with Fidelity, Voya, Vanguard, Principal, Nationwide, they keep the plan exactly where it is. So they don't move the plan. This is more of an add-on to their existing retirement plan. And so what 401k maneuver does is it brings in that active management. It brings in personal, professional investment advice to the participant. We're able to connect to their account. Their employer does it. You don't need employer approval in order to do it. And we talk about that in the book. right? The owner can set it up for themselves. Nobody needs to know. And if they want to offer it to their entire company, that can come later. But the four things that 401k maneuver does is number one, it's really designed to improve investment performance.
Mhm.
In the book, we talked about the Aon study. This was a 7-year study with 700,000 defined contribution plan participants. And the outcome of the study, which is what makes it so brilliant to have it in the book, was that by working with a fiduciary investment advisor, you have the opportunity to increase your annual return by 3.32%. Okay, over 10 years at 3%, that's 40% more in your retirement plan. In 20 years, it's 75. So improving investment performance, where each and every quarter, every 90 days, we're actually looking at the current economic market conditions. That's number two. And then said simply, we're putting them in what's working and taking them out of what's not working. Then number three is reducing fees. Where and when we can, we want to reduce fees inside that plan as well. So if they've got 50 investment options, we're going to be taking over where we're going to connect to their account, and we are going to manage that account with personal professional investment advice every 90 days, doing exactly what I just said. And the fourth thing I'll just add is really aligning with their personalized risk tolerance. That's really key. The thing about the target date funds is that it lumps everybody together. If we're all retiring in 2050, it doesn't matter about your personal life or what's going on. You're all going to have the same exact investment. Where with this, we're personalizing it to their personal risk tolerance. So really improve performance, reduce fees, and keeping them in what's working and out of what's not.
Let me flip that for a second. That's what the book is about, and it's geared towards the healthcare professional to show them the benefits of what the 401k maneuver can do. But if we flip that for a second and say from the advisor's perspective, in terms of opening up opportunity for them, what's exciting about the 401k maneuver as an advisor in terms of going to market with it?
Yeah, sure. I think the most exciting thing is everyone that's in the 401k market, virtually everybody, let's put it that way, that's marketing to take over the plan. Let's replace Fidelity, let's replace Voya, let's replace Principal. What's exciting about this is we're not saying replace your plan. They may have just signed on with Fidelity last week, and guess what? We can actually help them do the add-on with the 401k maneuver, personal professional investment advice, onto their existing plan without changing anything, without any HR involvement either. We do everything. We set up the front-facing website. We do all the work. There's no fee to that employer. Now, there's the fee that the employee gets charged, but that's how we all get paid. That's the really cool part about it. So that's really, in a nutshell, they don't have to move the plan. So every advisor out there could introduce this to an employer at any size, 2 employees, 1 employee for that matter, up to 50 or 100 or 500 or what have you. It could be a 10,000 employee plan. It could be Apple Computer. And guess what? It works. So it doesn't matter. We can scale with this no matter what the size of that plan.
And from there, and this ties back into the book, and so that though can also become what is called, I learned, the PEP. So tell us what the PEP is, and ultimately, in a perfect scenario, I think getting first the 401k maneuver and then the PEP, and you'll describe what that is, in place. So from an advisor's perspective, what is the PEP and what does that allow for? Starting with the 401k maneuver, moving into the PEP.
Yeah, sure. Again, what you just pointed out is that they can begin with the 401k maneuver. And what we talk about is one of the stories in the book where that president saw these results and said, hey, as a matter of fact, the record keeper wouldn't let them connect it up, which there's no reason for them not to. And that's when I had the opportunity to take over the plan. And so it wasn't. So what happens is that the employer then says, hey, you know what? I want this, plus I want you to manage the plan. And so that's where the PEP, pulled employer plan, comes into place to help to create some understanding, the basic understanding with the pooled employer plan. What it really does is it provides three things. It takes all the responsibility off of the HR department. They're no longer processing distributions, people leaving the company, loans. Like literally, the pooled employer plan does all the work, fully integrated in their plan. We have a relationship with the second largest record keeper in the United States called Empower, and it's an exclusive agreement that we have with them. They do all of the administration, so it takes that off the employer. It takes the liability off the employer. And then it also, a lot of these plans, 100 employees and above, are paying between $15,000 to $25,000 a year for an annual plan audit. In the PEP, it's included. So they're no longer having to pay for a plan audit fee. And then in addition to that, it's set up because we're an investment advisory firm. We're not a retirement planning company. So we're providing real personal investment advice as an RIA. And so we're coming to them as an RIA, not a retirement planning company. And from the advisor's perspective, we have what's called a 338 investment group that actually does all of the vetting for all of the underlying investment options inside the pooled employer plan. So that's all done for them. I will tell you, again, the opportunity to improve performance, take the administration work off of the company, get rid of liability, and get them best in class funds, and do away, by the way, with there's no 12B1 fees, there's no revenue sharing, it's full transparency. And so the employer gets to see everything. There are PEPs out there in a box. Prudential has a PEP in a box. It's not the same. It's not tailored the way this is to the employer. If I could add, so let me stop there for a moment, Paul, just see if you want to add anything to that, or did I cover it?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it great. I was gonna the next question I was gonna ask you is, what's the opportunity now? So I know I believe it's next year. You told me what's happening in the marketplace from a regulatory standpoint. That's going to make this all the more important for organizations to deal with and to look at and take advantage of. So what's the opportunity for an advisor going into the new year?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so it's called the Secure Act 2.0. And I'm sure everyone here is probably, to a degree, probably familiar with that in different aspects. But I do want to say this too, just for clarity, and I'm going to tell a few stories on this. Whether you're an RIA firm, whether you're a investment advisor, whether you're an insurance agent, or you do employee benefits, group benefits, okay, it doesn't matter. Actually, you could be a CPA, and we can still create a relationship within the pooled employer plan where you can actually get paid just like we do on a consistent ongoing basis, create a consistent revenue share no matter what. And I say that it's really important. You don't need to have your Series 65 license in order for us to do this because of the way we have this structured. So Secure Act 2.0. In 2024, every employer across the nation is going to be required to have a retirement savings plan. Now, it could be a SEP, it could be a simple. It doesn't have to be a pooled employer plan or a multiple employer plan, which I won't get into, but it's that kind of MEP concept is usually for a group that's only got a couple employees and that type of scenario. And here's the thing, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this, but there are going to be IRS penalties. And this is federal, by the way. This is a federal mandate that's happening across the United States. But here's the upside. I want to tell this one quick story. So there's a 2-person plan. The plan in order to put the plan in place. Now, this is the multiple employer plan because there are only 2. The PEP, you need to have some more assets and a bigger plan. And people can talk to me about that. It went probably at $1 million to $2 million. The PEP starts to make sense. But their flat fee per year is $1,100. The IRS is going to give them a $1,500 tax credit. Okay. And that's up to 30 employees. Beyond 30 employees, they're going to give them $30 a head. Then they're going to also, this is the IRS, going to provide a match of $1,000 per employee. So this employer, father-son operation, their entire cost to have the 401k is $1,500. The government's going to provide them $3,500 in real money credit back to them. So they're going to pay for the plan. And this goes on over a 5-year period. It's going to be a full 100% in year 2. In year 3, it goes down to 75% and goes down from there. But literally, the federal government's paying for this. It's really quite fabulous. I got to share this one other story here too. I want to mention this too, because a lot of advisors, they may have a lot of knowledge or a little bit of knowledge, but also we also have the opportunity to structure cash balance plans. One of our advisors within our firm has a medical practice that they want to sell about $1.2 million. They're going to sell it in about a year. Well, we're showing them how they, through the proper structuring with the cash balance plan, they can get another $450,000 of savings of real money in their pocket. So that's really powerful. So this part's really cool. So we have an advisor at our firm who has a relationship with another RIA. They know one another. And the advisor at our firm has had this person in 401k maneuver now for some time. They both share the same client, okay? The client has been showing this RIA firm the results and the statements and what's been happening with our 401k maneuver. This RIA firm, first, what they tried to do was create it on their own to not involve us. They realized they couldn't do it. So they called us. They called Mark Sorensen, our CEO, and said,
just a note for anyone who's thinking, oh, I'm going to go do that myself. Let's skip forward to the.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Because we started this process. The creation idea came up in 2015, November 2017, coming up on 6 years, 50 companies across the United States where someone's in the 401k maneuver, and Fortune 500 companies down to tire shops, mom and pop tire shops. So yeah, exactly, Paul. So they were so excited about the results. They literally just signed on as a sub-advisor with our firm, with Royal Fund Management. They're connected in. They're about a 50. It's my understanding they're small. I mean, I say small relative to, small is relative, but they're still I think they're about a $50 million RIA firm. So I know that some might say that's small, but it doesn't matter. The size is irrelevant, actually. The point on that is that they really saw the value with the shared client and saw the results and said, we want this. We want to, and they focus on high net worth clients. They didn't want to touch this aspect of all of the minutia that one has to go through in order to set it up. So they're excited to be part of this. And one kind of phrase that we have, and Michael Tarr created this and we talk about it, but our pooled employer plan, our PEP, is really, it's having the best house at the best price in the best neighborhood. There really is an opportunity here in regarding that. And I want to add one more thing, Paul. So these states now are really getting awareness around this Secure Act 2.0 mandate. We have a relationship. One of our advisors has a relationship with this is like at the state level, has a relationship with the state of Maine. She is really wanting to provide more education. I just sent off my newest book to her yesterday because she wants the audio book to be they're actually looking to put it on their website to promote education to employers so they understand this. So that's just one story that's just coming out of this, Paul, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. So since you brought up essentially marketing and we're back to the book, what I work with a ton of advisors, financial professionals more broadly, and at least in terms of our relationship, it always comes down to marketing, right? I need good marketing, the right marketing that'll get me in front of the right people. And over the course of my career, helping financial professionals, I've found that a book is, in my estimation, one of the most powerful ways to do that, if done well. And I think your book's done very well. And in addition to the 401k maneuver and then the PEP, which essentially the book makes the case for, but through a very much more engaging way that brings the reader in. How are you thinking about marketing the book with another advisor potentially? So it's your book, but what opportunities potentially are there for another advisor to take advantage of the book in a collaborative way?
Yeah. So what I'm looking toward doing is, because we just got this book launched in the last week or two, so it's really brand new. But what another advisor could do, this is one idea, one of several, but they could write the forward. They could get connected in and write the forward of the book. And Paul, with your team, the website that's been created for this, one of the things that we can do is we can have both our pictures on there. So we can not look, but be like we're in partnership, we're in collaboration with one another. And so that would be one aspect of it, is writing the forward in the book and then creating the front facing information and material. So that way you, the advisor, would get the recognition with your contacts. So we could create that type of relationship, partnership, do fee sharing agreements and arrangements with each other, just really work to create a win, because the book will really open the door in the sense that it's coming from a place of you're really an authority. You're coming from a place of really, I think the other key thing is it's not like what everybody else is doing with a brochure. Really, it's really providing quality content. And I think that from that viewpoint, you have an opportunity to get more engagement with people. So did that answer that, Paul, or did you want to add?
Yeah, no, and to build off of that, so in addition to that opportunity, what support do you potentially provide? Someone who wants, perhaps has a number of connections, contacts that they could approach. We're talking about healthcare business owners, executive level leaders at healthcare organizations, whether they be big or small. In addition to the book and the marketing, what additional personal support do you provide them to help them take advantage of these opportunities?
Yeah, sure. So for those of you that have done this, and there's what's called, let me back up for a second. If an employer says, I would like to at least review my current plan, I want to see how my current plan is doing. We call that benchmarking. I like to call it an objective review and analysis. We would put together the report on our team here would put together that report for that employer. It's fully color. It's all specific to that employer, and it would break everything down inside their plan. So we would put together a full on benchmarking report. We would do all of that work. And then if they are going out to bid and they're looking for an RFP, right? Request for proposal, an RFP, we can create that. We have through our team with myself and Michael Tarr and our internal team, we would create and do all of the work necessary to bring to that employer the data that they're looking for. It's really a matter of finding out what is it they really want, what do they want to see, and then we can tailor that analysis, the report, putting together a proposal. Us will do all of that work on behalf of another advisor or RAA or what have you. We do everything in that regard, and even including getting onto a call together. So if it's needed to get onto a 15-minute introduction call, Michael Tarr, myself, we're available to work with you in order to have that conversation. And we really come to the table when there's an introductory conversation with a clean slate, right? With a white canvas. We're really putting on our consultant hat to find out what is it they really need? What is it they really want? What are they really looking for? We don't come in fully loaded with all the answers. It's really about what is it they want. And then we go back and we put that together for them at our firm.
To me, it sounds like I'm a marketer, right? So to me, it sounds like essentially what you're offering is a turnkey solution for an advisor, including whether it's CPA, could be a life insurance agent. They don't have to be licensed per se, but essentially they can tap into both both the solution that you have as well as the marketing vis-a-vis the book that could create, I would imagine, some very quick, immediate home runs. If you think about the potential value creation from small to large organizations, it seems like this would be a very, I don't want to say easy, but a very straightforward thing to do, assuming you have the connections, and this just becomes an additional optional service that you can help seamlessly provide.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just to give you an example to what you're saying too, is my advisor, the advisor that's got the relationship up there at the state of Maine, he's really not interested so much in, all right, now I'm going to go out marketing 401k maneuver and 401k PEP. He's got other things that he wants to continue to do. We're creating this relationship. I and our team and Michael, we're doing all the work, and he gets to share because he brought that relationship to the table. He's going to continue to benefit from that today, and as long as they continue to have the plan with us.
No, I got to ask, I'm not an advisor, but maybe I can introduce you to someone.
You could, Paul. You absolutely could. Actually, yes.
Who do I know?
No, absolutely. And because of the way we're set up and the way that this relationship that we have with Empower, they're, like I already said, they do the record keeping for Apple Computer. Their fee cost structure is so in alignment with everything we're doing. And they, like I said, we have an exclusive with them as an RIA firm doing what we're doing with them. And so they're not out looking to bring on other RIAs. They really want to expand on the relationship they have with us and have us do what you're talking about right now, Paul. That is to work with other RIAs or investment advisors, insurance professionals, consultants, CPAs, and what have you, to just keep expanding their administrative services.
That's amazing. I know we're about at time, and I just want to congratulate you on all of your work, all of the books that you've done. I know I was just commenting to you the other day that I think out of all the books that I've written or helped advisors to write, this is one of my proudest ones. And so I'm really enjoyed the process of writing that together with you. For an advisor who's listening to this and they're interested in the potential opportunity, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and learn more?
Yeah, sure. Call me. You can call my cell phone at 818-441-8345. 818-441-8345, or you can go to michaelbudnick.com. And when you jump onto that, you'll see a spot there where it says click on a 15-minute introductory call. You can click on there to get onto my calendar. Also, if you want to email me, michael@michaelbudnick.com. But probably calling me on my cell or going to the appointment calendar would be the quickest, fastest way to connect together.
Very cool. So before we end, anything that we didn't talk about that you want to share before we end this podcast?
Paul, I just want to say just one thing in closing here. The other thing the book does is it creates opportunities and invitations to be a speaker. What I see for myself moving forward, which we didn't talk too much about today, which is fine. Moving forward, like I see myself, this hasn't happened yet, but I have someone that's reached out to me that's doing a conference coming up in October with 200 nurses. Again, she hasn't committed to do it with me yet, but the fact is I've got that reach. And then another potential opportunity to actually do a financial literacy course for a healthcare group with 13 nurses in-house. So that request has come up. And what I see moving forward, especially now that I'm going back to how I originally started in the business doing 401ks, rather than write the next book, I'm going to take the two books and I want to turn them into workbooks that I can deliver real courses, 1-hour courses, half-day courses, full-day courses, and provide that as an add value benefit to these employers or potential employers. So that's all I wanted to mention there in closing.
Yeah, I love it. I find that when you're an author, as you're discovering and have discovered, the speaking opportunities and the credibility just go up because everybody wants a trusted expert. In a book just becomes, it's almost like if you're applying for a job and you have the college degree is what vets you for certain positions, right? I think the book acts as the same way, especially for speaking opportunities. If you don't have a book, it's who are you? I can try to sell my people, or there's just a level of discomfort. But when you have a book, it immediately positions you as a teacher, an educator. And the magical thing is that you're still selling, but you're just doing it in a way that people embrace. I literally just this past week was invited to speak to a group of about 100 advisors here in San Diego. And guess what created the opportunity? My book. And guess what I talked about? My book. And guess what happened after the speaking event? I got swarmed by a dozen to 24 advisors that wanted to talk to me about my service. I think a book is by far the best way to promote your business in a way that really, I think, attracts the right people to you. I'm so excited to see what the future holds for you, especially with the publication of this new book, which I think is fantastic. With all that being said, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it and look forward to hearing about some more success stories as you go forward.
You're welcome, Paul. Thank you very much. This was great.